Hey guys, and welcome back to another episode of Getting Creative With, the show where AADL staff engage with an arbitrarily chosen topic to stay playful, stay inspired, and, as the name suggests, creative. My name is Ksenia, and with me today are AADL staff members. We have Mackie, Aurora, Evelyn, Marianne, and Jane. Hi, how's it going? And today's theme is repetition. As we've discussed before starting the recording, a lot of poetry on the internet, a lot of things that are more, metaphysical. But let's see how you interpreted the theme today. Marianne, hey.
Well, like you said, everything I saw at first was all literary. And then, so I just went into repetition in art to see what I could see. And saw, of course, Warhol and several things like that, and thought, well, okay, usually visually, if you're going to repeat something over and over, it's going to be something you like. So I was at that time starting to make Christmas cards for people. So I thought, okay, well, I'm just going to incorporate this. And so I was thinking of my kids and what they like. And our cat won. So I took a picture of the cat, had a bunch of copies made, did a lot of cutting out, and ended up with a card like that.
Aww.
So it is our cat Stanley over and over and over with a little Christmas hat on.
Aww.
And I'm going to give it to the kids and probably a frame so they can frame it. And that's what I did. Yeah.
Over and over and over is just the way he totally should be represented. I love it.
Yeah. He's he's kind of known as the king or the prince around the house. So when I was thinking, what would my kids want to look at over and over? Like, what image could I print over and over and over that they would like to look at?
Did you add Christmas hat? Or
I did. Yeah, I did. So the original picture, of course, was Stanley staring off into the distance. And then, so I just cut out little hats and glued those. First, I started with him, and then I put the hats on, and then just drew in little pom-poms. So that's my repetition of Stanley.
It really does remind me of Warhol.
Yeah.
Well, when I love the Warhol stuff too. And so I just sort of went with that theme.
Mm-hmm. Nice. I love it. Yeah, my question was going to be, did you actually get him to put the hat on? But
no. Not a chance. In fact, that wasn't part of my original idea. It was just going to be just the photo of Stanley. And then when I decided that, well, I might as well make it a holiday card, I tried the hat and asked a couple of people, and they said, yeah, do the hat. So I put the hat on. Yeah.
And
so how do you
go ahead.
How do you figure out the size of the card? I mean, did you buy a card and then figure out the size, or did you kind of roughly?
Yeah, that's actually an interesting question, because I made two, and the first one I just had this size card and just figured it out. I tried like different, whether I wanted to squish a whole bunch together or just have a few spread out, and then this pattern sort of stuck out to me. So then I went to make the second card, and I cut out all the images and started gluing them on, and I realized my second card was actually smaller, so it didn't work. So I had to peel them all off and just cut another card the same size. So yeah, they're just pre-made cards. They're blank cards. Yeah.
I was just going to ask, what software did you use for that? How did you multiply Stanley?
I just took one picture of Stanley and ordered 24 prints from CVS.
Oh, okay,
and cut them out. Yes. Because I actually had the photo from a previous thing I had done. So, and prints are like so inexpensive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so quick.
Yeah.
So,
That's genius. I love it. It's you literally just like said, hey, get me like 24 of these thumbnails on a sheet and like.
Yeah. I was only going to do one card and then my daughter saw it. This was for my son and she's like, Mom, I want one. So
Aw.
I had to order 12 more prints of Stanley. I think the guy at CVS must think I'm just like, but yeah, it was fun. I liked it.
Well, I'm sure your kids are going to really just love staring at that. It's really precious.
I hope so.
Nice. All right, Aurora, what do you have for us today?
I'm thinking similar, like Marianne's. It's like, okay, if something have to be repeat itself. I thought about Warhol, but then I thought, that's something, like she said, something to look at it. So I thought it's just simple shape, and it's just a stripe and triangle. And it is a repeat of a triangle and a stripe in just different colors using acrylic to paint that. It's just something simple to look at it, to hang on the wall. Nothing too fancy, just repeat shape of triangle and the stripes. And that's what I did. Yeah, I thought about a lot of different ideas, and I was like, oh, do I really want to have it in my house? Or, I thought about cot too, but it's not quite like yours, but I just not opted to do that way too.
That's beautiful. What's it on? What did you put it on? Is it just?
It's on a canvas.
Okay.
It's acrylic on a canvas that's painted.
I love the colors.
Yeah.
Yeah. How did you decide what gradient you were going to do for the background? And I can't tell, is there a gradient in the triangles too, or is it just the?
Yeah, it is. It's dark to light, and then the back stripe is dark to light.
Oh, okay.
And the opposite way. I just like green and corals colors, so I thought it's matched my house wall, and
Yeah.
So that's why I chose it.
Yeah, I was gonna say it looks good.
That's beautiful.
Did you use a stencil to make your triangles all the same? Because I could not freehand that.
Not a stencil. I cut a cardboard triangle and then just use a ruler. I use the stripe first so that I know, and then just lay the triangle and then draw it and then paint it.
Okay.
So,
Your color mixing is phenomenal. Just the fact that gradient is so subtle is really just such beautiful and delicate work. Did you have some trial and error in the color mixing and the lightening and the darkening, or did you just pretty much have a light color and you kept adding? Like, what was your process in that? It's just remarkable.
actually, I went from dark to light. So I start with the dark colors and just keep adding it, like one glop of white, and then paint the one level, and then keep adding the white as it go, and then same thing the other way up.
Nice.
So.
Oh my gosh, it's amazing. Yeah, it's like really, really precise. It's
kind of meditating, like kind of quiet, it's give me something to do simple enough that really don't have to think about too much detail, more just simple color and style.
Right. Yeah, I had this phase where I would look up paint mixing videos on Instagram because they were really, really satisfying. And that's what that reminds me of, but just in a really functional, beautiful sort of way, rather than, just something that is soothing and fun to look at. But yeah, that's gorgeous.
Thank you.
Cool, thank you. All right. Well then, looks like Jane, you're up, I believe. Yes. Looking at my list.
Okay. So for mine, I decided to do something that's, I think it's a little kind of out there, I suppose, for this prompt, but I had this idea like months ago when I saw it in a video and I wanted to try it. But I wanted to do like you pour resin down, you paint on top of it, you pour resin again, you paint on top of it, you pour resin again, you paint on top of it, and you use it to kind of make like a 3D image to make it look kind of like a lake bottom. And so my project's not done because the resin takes longer to cure than I thought. But this is the current layer that I have. It's a bowl I'm making my brother for Christmas. Can you guys see that okay?
Yeah.
So it's got like, can you hold it? It's got like a fish.
Yeah. My brother loves rainbow trout. And it's like a running joke we have that he'll have like a rainbow trout painting. So what I'm doing is I'm making basically just a bowl where I'm layering the resin up and painting on top. And those are like real rocks in the bottom that I've put in. And then I don't know if you can really tell, the fins are just barely on like, let's see if I can get it nice and close, on another level. So you get kind of like a depth to it. And it's been a lot of fun. But I had to put a lot of time into figuring out how resin works and like how to use it. And I had to run a lot of tests. But just to show, these are like some of the test examples. These are coasters that I made just to see how like the pigment would work in it. So, but then like separately, and you know, it looks kind of like glass too, but yeah, it's been a learning curve, but I feel like it might be kind of fun to make like an instructional video on how to use it. Since I've had to like dump so much time into figuring it out, but yeah.
That is gorgeous.
Thank you.
Yeah.
How did you, okay, can you walk me through the process of like getting the image down? Did you paint it or create the image with the resin itself, or is that paint trapped in the resin? I'm not entirely clear, but that's probably why you spent however much time learning it.
Yeah, it's kind of both. So there is paint, like the roots and the fish, that's all paint. But if you can look like deeper underneath in there, you can tell just barely that there's like a slight dye, and that's just to give it like some depth. You can color both the resin and the, you can trap paint between it to kind of create this effect. So that's mostly what I'm doing. And I'll send you guys like the pictures when it's done so they can go in the video. But yeah.
Beautiful.
How hard is it to paint on the resin? Like, is it like painting on glass or plastic or?
Closer to glass and plastic. I mean, the resin is plastic, like it's polyurethane, or no, it's epoxy. So yeah, it's just like painting on plastic.
And how long does it take to dry then, so that you can paint on it, like, or to harden?
It takes to get to like painting level. I was told it was around 4 hours, which is why it's not done, but it's actually around like 6 to 8 in that kind of range. And yeah, you have to wait that long between layers for it to like dry enough for it to like for you to paint on it. And even then, like I was painting on this earlier and it had been maybe 6 hours since like I put the resin down, and I actually like left a little indent with my hand when I was painting it.
So how thick is your layers? Is it very fine? So is it maybe a 1/4 inch, or I mean, how you determine how thick your layers and how much detail paint you putting on? Are they translucent so that gradually as you finish, you're able to see the shape of your design, or?
Okay. Sorry, can you repeat your question? I like lost track of it and then it was completely gone.
Well, because I never done one before, and I'm just curious, like the layers, how thick you determine
the thickness of the layer.
And then is the paint like a translucent, so that as you keep building up, you're able to see more of your design, like from bottom all the way to the top, or?
Yeah. So the layers, you generally want them pretty thin for something like this. You can do thicker things with resin, but thinner is generally better because then the air bubbles will come out. Especially with wood, there's a problem with air bubbles. In the paint, yeah, it's like a layering thing. So like I add more and more as I go, so it makes it look like a 3-dimensional like thing. I'm actually I'm making all of my Christmas gifts this year because I bit off way more than I could chew. But I'm also gonna do a table which is a lot. But yeah, small layers, and then you paint on top to kind of create like a 3D effect is how it goes. And you generally want to go 1/4 of an inch or smaller. At least that's what the manufacturer of the epoxy I'm using recommends, but it would depend on which one you're getting. And yeah.
How is it working with it inside? Because I've only ever done resin on a table, on a couple tables I made, and I did them outside in the summer because and like even that was still like a pretty strong smell. Is it okay inside? Do you have like a particular kind?
But it depends. You have to carefully read like the manufacturer instructions, like wherever you're getting your resin from, you need to like check with them and see what they say about it. I got from a manufacturer that's okay for indoor use. Most resins though, if it's below 70 degrees, it's not going to harden right. So you generally want either above 70 degrees, which is good for outdoors in the summer. And if you're doing it inside in the winter, like I am, especially if you have sensitive lungs, but it's generally a good idea to wear like some kind of like, not like a medical mask, but one of those really heavy duty, like working masks would be a good idea.
Yeah, I wondered about the smell of it too.
Yeah, this one isn't so bad. It only gives off like a really mild smell, and I'm working in a very well ventilated area, so I don't need to wear one, but it's definitely one of those things where if I was going to do this more in the future, I would want to have a good mask on hand.
Yeah.
Question about the bowl shape. So I see like it's a wooden it's a wooden bowl. Once that is all filled in, like, do you intend for it to be concave, or is it going to be basically a decorative piece that resembles the surface of a pond? Are you looking to create like the shape of the bowl?
So kind of both. I want my brother to be able to use this as kind of like a key dish or something. It's not food safe. Most resin you get is not food safe. And if you are going to work with resin, check with them to make sure it's food safe before you put it on food safe stuff. But I plan on going a little higher than, you see kind of how I got like, there's the resin, the actual like end of the last layer of resin I poured is right here, but then I have this little extra lip around, and that's actually the first layer of resin that I painted on. It's what you want to do when you're putting resin on wood. You want to give it kind of like a coat first of just resin and let it harden. So that way, less bubbles rise up out of the wood and into your piece. Otherwise, this thing would be like, I actually have a project I did earlier that isn't even made of wood, but like you can see, like, I don't know if you can on that camera, but there's a ton of bubbles in there that like didn't come out. And if you look at this one, I have like not even close to that many. It's in much better shape.
Interesting. Oh, what a learning curve, though. My goodness.
Oh yeah, I mean, fortunately, I've worked with it before. I worked with it a little bit in college, but whew, it was a lot to figure out.
Nice. It makes the gift that just much more, beautiful and special. I think just having poured in like all of that time into it. It's very cool. Nice. Well, I bet he's gonna really enjoy it. Also, I really love rainbow trout too. So
they're cute.
Cool. Well, Evelyn, hi. What are
Hi.
you
All right. So I did kind of 3. I'll show you what one looks like, and then I'll show you them all together. There are these like wall hangings. So this is that I sewed on, and it's got pockets that are kind of like mountainy shapes. And then they are glued onto just some styrofoam on the back to make them a little bit more solid, so that they can go on the wall. And so I have like the repetition here in these shapes, and then I have them, I have 3 concentric circles. So I've got big, medium, and small. And so my thought is that I'm probably going to put them in my kids' room, and they can put, it'll probably be mostly Matchbox cars is what they'll put in here. So I'm hoping that they're like solid enough to not break. I sewed all of this, and then the hardest part was figuring out the backing, like what I wanted to do. I made one where I tried to use like just like a cardboard box Then I made one where I sewed 2 together like a pillow and tried to do that. And finally landed on this cardboard, which is like really ugly from the back because I had to cut it, and it's like just doesn't look good on the back, but I don't think it matters too much. But then I just glued it on. So I'm hoping that like when they inevitably put stuff in here, it doesn't pull it off. But if it does, I'll just try something else. So yeah, it's a different shape.
What kind of fabric is it?
It's felt.
Felt.
Yeah. So, and I like this. This is the biggest one, and it's got this like big curve here. So yeah, I think, you know, all the pockets are all pretty small. So I think that they'll be, like I said, probably my kids will mostly use them for cars, but they could be for, you know, little books or markers or whatever. So
Yeah, I was gonna say I kind of want one, and I'm an adult.
yeah,
It's cute.
not my design idea. It was something I saw online years ago and just sort of like put away in my brain. Yeah.
Really beautiful, and I love that you mentioned that they're kind of mountainy shapes. Yeah, I totally see that.
Yeah.
And I love the layering behind it too. It's just, I don't know, in my head I'm like, I wonder like what else you would be able to put in there to sort of like imply that they're mountain shapes. Like I would totally like dried flower stems in there, and it'll be like a miniature landscape. So
I think, yeah, it'd be really good for that. And if they end up not working for something heavy like cars, I think that they would also be good as like a memo board or something like that. You know, if you had like little papers to put in mail, stuff like that. So
nice. And did you hand sew the outside of it?
No, it's all machine sewed. So I just used a straight stitch, and then you can't, and I sewed it like on the bottom. The top is not finished at all, which is kind of one of the nice things about felt. I used a pinking shear on the side here. And then again, you can't really see this probably in the video, but like with the repetition thing, when I went around, I purposefully did it like 3 or 4 times around with kind of like a messy looking lines, just because I liked how it looked. So yeah, my hand sewing is pretty terrible. It takes a long time, so I save it for things like buttons, and that's about it.
Yeah, those take long enough as it is.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Oh, cool. Well, yeah, I too would like them on my wall, and I'm also an adult, so there's
They look useful and pretty.
Yeah.
Functional art is the best. Which brings me to, I think I am next on the list, to my bit here. For when I was thinking through repetition, I wrote and still do, you know, some writing, a lot of poetry and stuff, but I'm not going to subject anyone to my, you know, my sick rhymes. When I was thinking about repetition, I kept thinking of wrapping paper, because at the time of this recording, it's around the time of the holidays. So when I look at wrapping paper, it's something that is created to be uniform, created to have a consistent design throughout its roll. And this would be a really cool year to design my own wrapping paper, basically. And I mean, I use the word design lightly. I literally just took craft paper, green, red, and regular brown craft paper, and I painted repeating designs on it, which is funny to me because wrapping paper generally that's store-bought is created to be like perfectly uniform and consistent. Mine is not, but I love it. So for this particular thing, I took a dowel, wrapped some twine around it, put that, like dipped it in paint, and then just rolled it on the paper to have like a faux candy cane look, something that suggested candy canes. And as you can see, the twine, the hemp twine sort of left some, you know, little stringy marks on there. So it's definitely not uniform as you would, you know, as you would expect any wrapping paper. Like for this one, I just took some acrylic paint, silver acrylic paint, and just did some little chevron brush strokes. Again, you can see the brush strokes in it, and I like it. For this particular one, the green one, I took a foam brush. I dipped the end of it in white, and I just made little snowflakes. And then for the craft paper, I actually have a bunch of wrapped gifts like in my lap right now. I took some branches from my Christmas tree and I dipped them in white paint and I pressed them down in a uniform or sort of repetitive fashion all over the paper and let it dry and wrapped up all my gifts in it. So it was really straightforward, but I love the sort of imperfect touch of the even though it's meant to be repetitive and consistent, the repetitive inconsistency of my brushstrokes. That was fun.
Yeah, I love that. Can we see the one with the pine needles again?
Yeah, that was beautiful.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Where did you get that idea?
I love being able to customize things. It's just something that I've been thinking about for a while, and I was looking through the stores and I couldn't find anything that I really. My wrapping job is messy. Sorry, I couldn't find anything I really wanted or liked. So I'm like, well, why don't I just make my own thing?
Yeah.
So it was just more of, I don't know, the result of dissatisfaction. And it was really fun. Adds a personal touch, and I kind of like that it's ephemeral. Like, no one's going to keep the wrapping paper; they're going to tear into it. But I like making it anyway.
Yeah, it's got a really lovely hand done touch to it for sure.
Yeah, it looks like that present. Just like the whole thing looks like a little, like it could be in a storybook.
Mm-hmm.
I like to think my aesthetic is like storybook. I enjoy that kind of stuff. Yeah, thank you. And acrylic paint is acrylic paint is acrylic paint. Like there was no special coating, no medium, so it was really, really easy and approachable.
I did want to ask, what kind of paper did you use?
I had some rolls of just craft paper, colored craft paper from Joann's. I think they had a sale on wrapping paper, and it was very plain, and I figured, I can dress it up. Yeah, so I think it'd be fun to play with it some more because I like alternative wrapping. Like I'm making little cloth bags to put stuff in because they're reusable and they're just fun. But this was my, step one in the sort of wrapping process. So yeah, they look very cozy. I like them.
Yeah, you're great.
All right, Mackie. Hey.
Okay, let's see if this will come through. So this is what I did.
Ooh.
So I have found that I've used a gold paint before, but there's this series of paints that has like a pearlescent white, a rose gold, a bronze. I absolutely love it. So I don't know if you can see it very well, but the white's pearlescent, and I'm using a metallic red and blue in this, so it really like shines under light. It's just not coming through very well with the camera. The pattern was a little convoluted, so it looks like I just striped it, but I actually like picked a corner and said this one's going to be red, and then I followed the lines all across until it ended on this corner. So I followed it around like ribbon.
Okay.
And then that's the pattern is the blues and reds were followed around by ribbon. And then to ensure that there wasn't like crossovers like right here, I said that anything that red and blue touched was white. And then if it's a blue and a blue, then that would be blue. And same thing with reds. So that's the rows and columns kind of thing.
Okay.
And I realized I was doing Harley Quinn colors, so I put H's on there.
So is it like a wrapping paper? Or is that what, or is it just
a canvas?
Oh, it's a canvas. Okay.
The pattern, I did it like ribbon. I followed ribbon when I did it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was going to ask, how did you know that rule would work for the red and the white? I'm just not familiar with checkering things at all like that, so I would have gotten lost.
It works with three colors in that because there's blue and a blue here, you see the two triangles
Yeah.
that they connect. I should probably do higher. So like this square connects this blue and this blue.
Okay.
So that has to be blue, but then again, the square right above that is connecting a red and a blue.
Okay.
So that's kind of how I did it, if that answered your question.
Yes, I think so.
I also wrote it out first to make
Yeah,
sure.
like my brain would not have been able to handle
If you
it.
get really close, you could probably see in the white. Maybe you can see in the white. It took like 7 coats of white to hide the very light pencil marks of W. Yeah, no, it took a lot, and I can still see it in some lights.
Oh no.
And the reds took about 4 coats, blues took about 3 to get rid of the pencil marks, which I didn't press hard. I did very light just to like map it out, make sure everything was correct. Yeah.
What's
And
the
then I use a little gold to accent, so I have little gold dots again, and on the side as well. Just
Oh.
Yeah. It does look really shiny. Like we can't quite tell, but it looks like pearlescent. What did you say
Yeah.
the paint was that you used?
it's a type I found at Joann's. I didn't bring the bottle over, but I can like message you what it is later. There's just a series of them. Maybe I can find it real fast.
Is it acrylic?
Yes.
That's really neat. And I also just really appreciate that you did like a ribbon style pattern as well. It's like, I always love art that, or just anything that is created as a result of limitation. So like, you know, not having the 2 colors touch, or, you know, having it follow a particular pattern is just really, you know, I feel like it drives a lot of creativity and beauty. So it's really cool to see that like just functionally displayed, you know, in a piece of art. But that's really beautiful. Right. You gonna plug this paint?
Yep, I'm just trying to find the brand real fast. If my computer will let me.
I love it.
Or if I can convince my husband to grab it. I don't know. Let's see.
Random people just come to my porch. I think they're dropping off a package. Cool.
It's Elegant Finish. Deco art brand Elegant Finish.
Nice.
It's a metallic paint. That's what it is.
Okay.
So you didn't like gesso the canvas or anything like that beforehand? You just like straight up covered it in paint?
Nope. Well, I bought the canvas from the store, so I assumed it was already gessoed to begin with.
Mm-hmm. That's good.
What does that mean?
Gesso is a white paint. You use it to prepare surfaces. Canvases I think are already gessoed, but if you were to say make a statue and use like pantyhose, you could then use that kind of thick, really thick paint, and it would turn the pantyhose into canvas that you could then paint on.
Neat.
It's like a liquid gypsum in a way, like a primer.
Yeah.
Okay.
Primer. Mm-hmm. Yeah, especially if you want to stretch your own canvas that is not prepared by anything, you have to put a gesso over it first. Mm-hmm.
Well, thanks.
Nice. Beautiful. Well, thank you guys so much for participating in the mind-bending world of patterns. This is great fun. I had a really good time making my little wrapping paper, and learned a whole lot about epoxy pours and functional art in the process. This is great. Every single week. I love it. All right. Well, I will see you all in the future at some point, and have a great rest of your afternoon. Thanks again, as always.
Yeah, you too.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.